Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's been about a month now. I've been playing with Game Boy Studio 3.1, and I've figured out quite a few things. Um, I'll post a list in the description below of some of the subjects I figured out how to do, and if one of them is really interesting to you, please let me know, and I'll make a video for that. Um, right now, this video is going to be about cliff dropping, and I saw one video about it, but it didn't quite cut it for me. So I played around until I figured out kind of how to make it a little more satisfying. And one of the key things I figured out is to make a jump sprite. And I played around with it by trying to animate it, making extra frames where he goes up a little bit, down, whatever. But it overcomplicates it. Actually, all you really need to do to make it look what I think is acceptable is to have two states. I created a whole separate sprite called student jump. And I set one here with him. As you can see, here's the jump sprite. One is the shadow, and then one is I use also for his attack stance, right? So hover him up, play around with the pixel height, push it around, until you feel satisfied as you play with it. You can move him around a little bit, right? Just to get it how you want. And then for the land, I put him back on the ground, and I left the shadow as well, just for why not. And when I was developing it, I watched a video on this as well, dev playground, where you have nothing else going on but what you're trying to test. And I created a loop just because it's satisfying, right? You can keep jumping after it again and again and again. But how it's done is using the triggers. And once you create it, I put it in a group and I named it, right? So I named it wrong here. I was trying to do a right hand cliff jump first, but that's a little bit ugly. I still haven't figured that one out. So cliff drop down. Move. How many did I move it? Move player by 4. So move 0, 4. And this is how I go ahead and do this, so that way I know later when I want to use it what it is set up as, right? What's all in this group. And what I did here is I created added a script called popular. And in here I've got some of the scripts that I use constantly, which I highly recommend you do. It's sort of like a little notepad for you. Paste event before. So boom, there we go. I've got this now saved in my scripts, so anytime I want to add a jump in later, I can, no problem. Anyway, the technique that I figured out is for the cliff drop, set it to the if player facing direction. Let me show you here. Insert event before if player. Oop, if actor. Yes, this is why I did this. If actor facing direction. And then I set it to down, so the trigger will only work if you walk into it and you're facing down like you want to jump, right? Then you change the sprite sheet to the student jump, which I had already set. And then after that, what you want to do is set the animation state. So you got to do both. First, you tell it, all right, go to the student jump. And then now we want to do, because I have two states, I didn't set the default state. I left that blank. That's why there's no guy there. So the first animation state is student jump. And then at the very end, it's going to be, you're going to switch to student jump down land. Right? So first, set it to student jump. Well, first sprite sheet, student jump, and then I did a wait for 0.1 second just so he kind of hovers there a little bit. Otherwise, it's too quick and the animation doesn't really add in. It kind of gives, adding this 0.1 gives it the feeling like he's jumping up. It's like an illusion. I don't know how it works. An animation magic. And then I set the movement speed to 2.2. I think the normal movement speed for this page is 1. Yeah, that's the default. His movement speed is 1 pixel. So I set for the jump to be 2.2, so it kind of gives the gravity effect. And then I move him relative. I don't hard code it in, so that way if I set it to move, you know, to x9, y13, but you're over here, he doesn't jump sideways. So set the player move relative. Let me see. Insert event before relative. So actor move relative. Relative. That's what I use. Yeah. So use actor move relative. And I did y4 because here 1, 2, 3, 4 sets you here. So anywhere you jump from here, he's going to move 4 pixels or 4 tiles down. And I set the movement to down, ignore collisions. That's important. Otherwise, he's just going to bonk into your collisions. And then once after this, I just set it to student jump land. So he kind of has that little crouch again. Wait for 0.1 seconds again, and then return the movement speed to 1 pixel and set return the sprite sheet back to the original. And the effect is decent. I mean, it's not terrible. Here, let's take a look here. I learned my lesson and I preloaded it this time, so you don't have to wait for me to render. So here we go. All right. Excuse me, got something in my throat. So yeah, so he hovers up, floats down, has a little landing, you know, boop. And hey, I'm satisfied. You can tell he's jumping. Like I said, you can play around with this more, customize it. I'm just giving you kind of the bare bones here. Hopefully it works for you. And then I'll make another video soon about, I figured out how to make him jump into the water. I've got a climbing animation. Again, I'll put a full list of the stuff I learned in the description. So anyway, hope this helps you. Thanks for watching, and happy developing. All right, take care, guys.